Story time on how the guy I was dating lied about his age to get with me. Okay, y'all, so today's story is my own. Okay, so boom. This took place on my senior year of high school when I was 17. In my school, everyone had to complete 100 hours of community service to graduate. I ended up doing community service at a daycare that was literally right next to my house. I was working with a lot of kids and they literally all loved me. I got many crazy stories about the time I was working at this daycare, y'all. Sheesh. But anyways, there was this one particular kid who was real quiet but super sweet. The teacher asked me to give him some one-on-one attention because he was a little behind. Everything went great and I could see he had potential, so my teacher wanted to introduce me to his parents. He told me his mom usually picks him up, so I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Well, a guy ended up picking him up and he looked kind of young, like my age, and he was 6'2", and ooh, height, y'all, that's my weakness. And of course, very handsome. As soon as he looked at me, he gave me a, ooh, you a snack look. I seen a tall, handsome guy walk up and I got a little nervous. But whatever, I started talking to him about his son and he just smiled the whole time and gave me the look. This how he was looking at me, y'all. Like, please, if you're not ready for no action, don't give me that look. So I told him, your son is amazing and he's so sweet. And do you know what this guy told me? He told me, oh, I'm not his dad, I'm Big Bro. And I believed him. From that day forward, he was always coming to pick up his little brother and we would always like flirt and stuff. Well, one day I was in the playground playing with the kids, waiting for all the parents to come pick up their children. I was sitting on a swing just like reading a book and he came and sat next to me. This was the first time we were both kind of alone, like literally no teachers around because I was the only one watching the kids play. And this is the moment he asked me for my number. Y'all, we started talking and texting every night. This was the first time we were finally alone and this is when he asked me for my number. He knew what he was doing. He was playing his cards right, y'all, when I think about it. But anyways, from then on, we started texting and talking every night. This went on for like a good 2 weeks, y'all. I'm talking about I was sleeping on the phone with this man, still thinking that that was his little brother. He asked me how old I was, and I told him that I was 17, and then I asked him how old he was. This man told me he was 20. And then he told me that he already knew I was 17 because he asked one of the teachers already, but he wanted to make sure. So y'all, he literally knew the whole time that I was 17. Anyways, the truth was about to set his ass free. He asked me out on a date and I was like, hell yeah. So we planned a date for next Saturday. Well, Wednesday, a couple days before our date, I literally found out everything. This was the first time we were finally alone and this is when he asked me for my number. He knew what he was doing. He was playing his cards right, y'all, when I think about it. But anyways, from then on, we started texting and talking every night. This went on for like a good 2 weeks, y'all. I'm talking about I was sleeping on the phone with this man, still thinking that that was his little brother. He asked me how old I was, and I told him that I was 17, and then I asked him how old he was. This man told me he was 20. And then he told me that he already knew I was 17 because he asked one of the teachers already, but he wanted to make sure. So y'all, he literally knew the whole time that I was 17. Anyways, the truth was about to set his ass free. He asked me out on a date and I was like, hell yeah. So we planned a date for next Saturday. Well, Wednesday, a couple days before our date, story time on how my dad cheated on my mom with my boyfriend. And she was the one to walk in on them. Okay, so boom. My parents were happily married and been together for 20 years. My mom and my dad were both 48 years old and I was 16. Now, my boyfriend, who my parents loved and treated like their own, was also 16. My boyfriend was a little feminine, but nothing crazy. There was a couple rumors in school of him being gay, but there was never any proof and he always denied it. A weird dynamic in me and my boyfriend's relationship is that he never really wanted to get freaky with me. I had to practically beg him to make out with me. And at times when we were doing the nasty, sometimes his hot dog would, I became kind of insecure, but he just told me that he was one of those guys that weren't affectionate. And the way he would console me and embrace me, I believed him and thought it was normal. Other than that, our relationship was pretty peaceful. Well, him and my dad's relationship was always weird. And you, me, and my mom, we're about to find out why. My dad and my boyfriend's relationship was always weird. My boyfriend would come over my house like every day and spend time with me and my dad. Not so much my mom because my mom worked the night shift. He would usually get to know my mom on her off days, which was Saturday and Sundays. So over the year that my boyfriend's been coming over, my boyfriend would always end up in my dad's room. My boyfriend would tell me that he's gonna go over to my dad's room and play Xbox with him. I tried going in the room sometimes just to watch them play, but they both convinced me that it was a guy's thing and that it was a bonding moment, like a father and son type of thing. So I would always just do my own thing in my room and wait for my boyfriend to come back. Well, one Monday night when my mom is supposed to be working, she actually wasn't feeling good, so she came back home. I myself didn't didn't even know my mom came back. So I know for a fact that my dad and my brother didn't hear either. All of a sudden, I heard my mom open their room door and scream, "Oh my God!" My mom opened the door and screamed, "Oh my God!" I immediately ran out my room and went to my mom and stood right next to her. Me and my mom stood there in shock while we looked at my dad's hot dog and my boyfriend's peach. All four of us was literally frozen in place. My mom's reaction is actually something you wouldn't expect. She didn't fight or anything. She just closed the door, told me to go to my room, called the cops on my dad because obviously my boyfriend is a minor. Police came, took my dad, brought him to jail, and my mom divorced him. No kicking, no fighting, no none of that. Not even any screaming. I'm not gonna lie, I told everyone in my school. It got so bad for my boyfriend, he had to actually change schools. And his parents are currently taking my dad to court. Now, me and my mom literally both don't speak to my dad. And yeah, me and my mom bonded because we were both literally cheated on with each other's significant others. So if your boyfriend says he's gonna play games with your dad, ask him what type of games. This is why you shouldn't marry a professor. Okay, so boom. My husband is a professor at a university and he loves his job. Maybe a little too much. So my husband is 50 and I'm 40, and lately he hasn't been wanting to be intimate with me at all. He's been coming home from work way later than usual, saying that he's tutoring some students. Well, I decided to cook my husband's favorite meal and surprise him for working so hard. I went to the university and opened his classroom door and I couldn't believe my eyes. His classroom was empty, but I did see his car in a lot, so I went over to see if maybe he was just heading home. Well, when I went back downstairs, I was happy to see his car was still there. The car looked like it was shaking a little bit, but it was dark, so I just wasn't sure what was going on. I walked over to his car, and there it was. I was in complete shock. I opened his classroom door and it was empty, but I did see his car downstairs, so I went back downstairs. I was happy to see his car was still downstairs and it looked like it was shaking a little bit, but I just didn't know what was going on because it was a little bit dark. Well, I walked over to my husband's car and there it was. My husband was in the backseat of his car with a student and obviously not tutoring. And to my surprise, his student was a 23-year-old boy. And some back actions were taking place, child, if you know what I mean. I was so shocked, I dropped the food and I ran and went home. I didn't even give my husband a chance to react. He begged me not to leave him and said it was nothing and that he loved me. I obviously divorced him, and can you believe he's still with that same student now? I caught my husband in the backseat of his car with a 23-year-old boy, which was his student. He begged me not to leave him and said that he loved me, but I obviously divorced him because, like, whoa. At the time, I was hurt, but I genuinely got over it because at least he's living his truth now. I, on the other hand, finally had the kids I always wanted at 42, and I'm happily married with my new husband that's so in love with me. Stay away from them professors. Story time on how I hid in my boyfriend's closet and watched him get nasty with my best friend. Okay, so boom, I'ma jump right into this one. So me and my boyfriend been together for 1 year and my best friend was the one who got us together. In the beginning, me and my boyfriend were in the honeymoon stage and I couldn't get enough of him, child. And meanwhile, my best friend was hating and started to get jealous. She started giving me attitude when I would call her. She started avoiding me when I would ask to go out. And she started to text me way less. So I took it as her trying to distance herself from me. I cried to her telling her she's my best friend and I don't want to lose her. Then we got back to being okay. Fast forward a couple months to the stage me and my boyfriend relationship is at now. Yeah, now he's acting funny. He's not talking to me as much. He's always distracted on his phone when I'm with him. And he started making excuses on why I almost never see him. Well, I'm crazy. And I was going to find out exactly what's going on. So I took his keys. I'm crazy. And my boyfriend was acting funny, so I was going to get to the bottom of things. My boyfriend gave me spare keys to his apartment in the beginning of our relationship. You know, when we was in the honeymoon stage. I never used it because he always was home and he always opened the door for me. So he kind of forgot I had it, but I sure didn't. So this day, I let myself in. I wanted to see exactly why today he couldn't see me. So I went up to his room and I just hid in the closet. About an hour later, he came home with company. They didn't even watch a movie first. They immediately came to his room. I was peeking through the little closet space and my jaws dropped when I seen it was my best friend. They undressed each other and he slammed her on the bed. Y'all wouldn't believe